Hello and welcome to Mellow Labs. On today's episode we are revisiting an old project. How old? This is Zippy. Now Zippy is kind of the reason this channel is even going, because I made it and then it got very popular and here we are today. Zippy has been sat on a shelf behind me for a while now, and he's been mostly used for parts, and for the longest time, even after he's been created, I've been meaning to do upgrades and things like that to him, but I never ended up having the time or the interest to. And as you can see, Zippy on the inside is completely gutted. The only thing in there are the motors. So the main point of today's video is to get Zippy to a working state and also throw in a couple of cool upgrades that I think it needs. The brain, originally he ran on a Raspberry Pi Zero. Now he'll be running on a Raspberry Pi Zero W. I know what you're thinking. How did you obtain this mystical thing? The answer is I bought it as soon as it came out and then literally haven't used it at all. This will be Zippy's new brain. That will go somewhere in there. A couple of upgrades that I'll be adding will be the distance sensor. That will go at the front, and I'm hoping to give him some autonomy so that he can roam around the house and just sort of navigate his way around without crashing into things. So that will go in there. And also I really want to give him the ability to follow lines. So like following black lines on the floor. So I'll be putting in these IR sensors in there. There's a lot of things to stuff in here. And I did actually consider getting a custom PCB made, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm gonna go play around in CAD with some measurements, and I will catch up with you when I get somewhere. Okay, so I've been designing stuff for a little over an hour. So these are ready to be 3D printed. Here is where the battery will go. It's got a little bit of a standoff because this is where the IR sensor goes down, and it needs a little bit of space, and I don't want the battery to crash into it because it's a LiPo battery. If LiPo batteries get pissed, then Zippy goes bye-bye, along with the Raspberry Pi 2, which we've discussed. It's very expensive. On the top here, we have the space for the fan and the LED indicator and the switch. That's kind of all we need. I'm gonna send these off to the printer. We'll catch up when they're done. One beard trim later, we are back with our 3D printed pieces. So I printed off these two, and then I also modeled this. I wanted to drill this originally, but it turns out I don't have big enough drill bits, so I just modeled it instead. We can start assembling things. Right, where I'm going to start is with this. This is the motor driver. The motor driver has one teeny little problem, and it's when I put these cables in here, it takes up a lot of space on the side, meaning I can't put it in as flush as I want it. So what I really want to do is take these screw hole terminals and replace them with ones that are vertical. Surprisingly enough, those are extremely difficult to find. It was easier to find some of these. These are connectors. They do essentially the same job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to desolder these and then pop these ones this way round so that the chunky bit faces inside, and that will save me space. Oh no! Ah, fits perfectly. Do you have a skill no employer wants? You should consider becoming a YouTuber. Yes, I know this is an ugly connector, but it's for testing purposes. Oh geez, Rick! So now this can snugly fit in here without causing issues. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to replace this bottom plate. You've probably noticed that there's a small color difference between the old parts and the new parts. That's because this is PLA, this is PETG. I've recently switched to it because I screwed up an order. Now that the bottom's installed, we can move on to the IR sensors, and one goes here and the other one goes here. By the way, just a note for the future, keep all of the screws. If you take something apart, keep all the screws. Now that those are installed, you can see them from the bottom. Before I stuff anything else in there, I'm going to calibrate the IR sensors. So get yourself some black tape and lay it down. To calibrate an IR sensor, it is very tricky. Basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that it's on when it's on any other surface, and then when you pull it onto a black tape line, it should go off, and you have to calibrate it with this little knob here. Just turn it left and right until it reaches the desired effect. It's kind of trial and error. Cool, now that that's done, we are going to move on to the ultrasonic sensor. And I could have modeled something to like hold this in, but I decided to go big brain mode, and we are going to use, you've guessed it, hot glue. But first, I'm going to change these pins because them pointing down like that is inconvenient for me. So I'm going to desolder these and solder new ones that are facing that way. This is no longer a problem. So I actually want this to be pretty flush with the bottom here, that it doesn't protrude out. And the way I'm going to do that is first by sticking this to the table so that it does not wibble wobble, and then putting this in so that none of these wibble wobble. And now I'm going to get my hot glue gun. While I'm waiting for this to heat up, why don't you listen to a message from my sponsor? Did you know I have a Patreon? Yes, it's true. You too could view content a week before it's published on YouTube, as well as additional content that nobody else can see. And to top it all off, I'll show you something. You'd be added to my whiteboard of patrons. You could be next to Clown Baby. Link in the description. Early content. I just posted a cool cooking video. It's funny. I don't know what else I can say. Just support me on Patreon. Thank you. Okay, you can stop following me now. Please stop following me now. Welcome back. The hot glue gun is hot. I'm only doing like little dubs. Fantastic, and look at how flash it is. It's beautiful. Let's put it on. Beautiful, look at him. He looks like a nerd. Make fun of him. Make fun of the nerd. I have some serious childhood trauma. Moving on. Right, let's do the top lid, where we screw in the fan, the power button, and the LED. Does the fan spin smoothly? Yes. Let's put in the LED. Yeah, the LED is the easiest thing to install on this. Beautiful. We are almost done with Zippy. The only thing that's left is all of the wiring and all of the code. All of these are pretty chunky bits. So do I do step by step of like the wiring? It's mostly just like plus and minus. I'll just do a very quick We're back. It's been a couple days. I'll tell you the whole story, but to start with, look, Zippy is all put together and stuff. Let's take him apart and show you what I've done with the help of my new friend, camera on a stick. Let's take off the 2 screws that it takes to take Zippy apart. Okay, as you can see, everything inside is connected, and it is extremely tight in there. Let's start by taking out the battery, since it is the biggest space hog. Right, and here you can see most of the components. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the PCB I made for the Raspberry Pi. Look at it, it's beautiful. And that has connections for almost everything here. Let's start off with, this is the RGB indicator LED. And then this is a little splitter that lets me give 12 volts to the fan and turning on the circuit. So with those 2 removed, I can move the top cover and put it down there. So this cable is the 4 pins for the motor driver that makes it go zoom. These 4 down here is for the ultrasonic distance sensor that's shoved into the front. And remove the power for it, which is this one. So it just goes from the 5-volt output of the motor driver. And this one with 6 leads here goes to the 2 IR sensors at the bottom. So that's every connection that's inside. So I made this little breakout board for the Raspberry Pi. It's got some resistors for the LEDs and some other resistors for the ultrasonic distance sensor. And as you can see, this is quite messy.
Cool, so now you know how everything is on the inside. Let's put it all back together. So when I was putting everything inside Zippy, I realized, wow, that's very tight. Then I realized like, oh, I have like extra space in here that I could like carve out. So on this side, I've actually carved out this bit. It gives me like the teeny tiniest piece of room to like squish the Raspberry Pi in there, which gives me enough room for the rest of the cables. Now we can turn Zippy on. And look, he's got fan spin. Look, it's actually spinning. So now that we know everything inside Zippy is running, we can move on to the code. Shut the fuck up. After a couple of hours, I have stuff to show. It's not finished, but let's just go over what I have. So I'm SSH'd into the Pi here through VS Code using this fantastic little extension called Remote SSH. What I have here is I've written a few tests for Zippy here, and we'll go through them. Starting with, let's start with the LED test. The LED test is pretty simple. Wow, look, LED, it has colors. It's beautiful. It just cycles through all the different colors. Let's move on. Right here we have the code for the ultrasonic sensor. The Raspberry Pi Foundation made this just so goddamn easy to program. Let's run it. And you see we have an output of centimeters here. So if I put my hand there, which I'd say is probably 16, 17 centimeters, it's by no means like perfect, but it's good enough for what I need it to be. I'll use this to do obstacle avoidance when it's like when it's too close to something, it's gonna turn, and when there's nothing in its way, it's gonna go, and on and on. Okay, so now I have Zippy on my side. We've got the two IR sensors there. I'm gonna run this little piece of test code, and as you can see, we're getting 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If I block one of these, it's gonna go 1, 2, and then I can block the other one, and it's gonna do the other thing, and I can block them both, and it's like 0, 0. Theoretically, that's all I need to make him follow a line on the floor. We'll find out how difficult that is to program later. For my final test, I have connected my controller to Zippy, and I'm running the code I used for the previous version of Zippy, just to see if it still works. I don't know what purple means, but I mean, my key bindings are screwed up. My key bindings are screwed up because usually these two make it go forward, but now it seems to be, but that's really not difficult to fix. I kind of didn't expect it to work right off the bat, but except the key binding issues, it's fine. That and the LED doesn't show the colors that it should be showing. Apart from that, it's all good. So yeah, I'm gonna go modify a bunch of code, add some cheat codes to the controller so that I can activate different modes, and I'll see you in about a week. It's been a couple days. I have tried extremely hard to get Zippy to do what I want. Let's start with the line following. Okay, so I got the code loaded up on Zippy. The sensors are going, so if I put my hand there, it's going. When I cover one of the sensors, it will move that motor, and then the other one will do the other thing. So let's set him down on the line. Yes. So yeah, line following doesn't quite work. I don't know why. It's either because the sensors are like too close, but then I tried moving the map, or just Zippy doesn't have speed control, so he's just going too fast. So line following is kind of a failure.
let's move on to obstacle avoidance.
This one I will film with my phone because it's easier to follow Zippy around with my phone. So I press enter on my keyboard and Zippy goes. Okay, well, chairs are difficult, I agree. Oh, I flicked his fucking off switch, god damn it. Okay.
So what did we learn? Zippy is really fucking stupid. Now, I do understand a thing is only as smart as the person programming it, which is me, which is why Zippy is stupid. So, this video kind of has a disappointing ending, but that's gonna be it for Zippy. I'm gonna leave Zippy in a state where I can just like remote control him to like show him off to people, or like bring to like maybe conventions if I ever end up going to things like that. Apart from that, Zippy's not gonna be a smart boy. Mostly because I want to move away from Zippy now. I want to build something better. Zippy was always designed to be a stepping stone in my learning to build things journey. So I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna work on a different kind of vehicle project. Might be a vehicle, might be a boat, might be a rocket. I don't know yet. I do definitely want to move away from this. He'll be around. You'll still see him in the background of my videos. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. This video is a little bit longer than usual, and if you'd like, there's an even longer version on Patreon. I kid you not, this whole video ended up being like 25-ish minutes. So yeah, if you want the longer version plus exclusive content, join my Patreon, and yeah, there's cool stuff to see there, and I will see you next time.